Cassandra's heart raced with disbelief as she stared at the ultrasound screen. What she saw shattered her perception of her beloved pet snake. She had brought Reggie to the vet, suspecting he might be ill or experiencing an unusual behavior, but the reality was far worse than anything she had imagined. Cassandra's mind was in turmoil. How could she have been so blind to the true nature of her beloved pet? But before we start our story, smash the like button, make sure to subscribe and hit the notifications bell so you won't miss any new stories. For weeks she had been unaware of Reggie's true intentions, sleeping soundly with him curled around her body. Now the thought of it sent chills down her spine. She couldn't help but feel foolish for not recognizing the signs. The way Reggie had coiled around her, the way he had watched her with his penetrating gaze. She had interpreted these actions as affection and loyalty, but sadly the reality was far from comforting. The comforting idea of her snake watching over her during the night now seemed terrifying. What has she done? In the quaint and tranquil town of Bar Harbor, everyone knew each other's name and business, and gossip spread like wildfire. The streets were lined with charming houses, well-kept gardens, and friendly faces. So when Cassandra, a solitary woman in her mid-30s with a penchant for privacy, moved into the neighborhood with an enormous python named Reggie, the whispers began almost immediately. People couldn't comprehend why anyone would choose to live with such an unusual companion, and concern for their own safety grew. Despite the wary glances and hushed conversations, Cassandra was undeterred. She had adopted Reggie from an exotic pet rescue center after he had been abandoned by his previous owner, and their bond was unshakable. Her neighbors couldn't understand the connection she shared with the snake. They didn't notice the way Reggie's eyes seemed to glow with understanding when Cassandra spoke to him, or the way he would tenderly nuzzle her cheek with his scaly head, as if reassuring her that he was there for her. A snake was an ideal companion for her modest home, as it required minimal care and didn't incessantly bark like her neighbor's tiny dog. Moreover, it hadn't caused any disturbances so far. Reggie had never made any attempt to hurt her or any of the guests that came to visit. If only her neighbors would cease their incessant, unwarranted cautioning. Cassandra had always housed her python in a vivarium equipped with a heat lamp, following the standard practice for reptilian pets. However, as she began to feel increasingly lonely, she decided to deepen their bond and take their relationship to the next level. She genuinely believed they could strengthen their bond. Observing her neighbor's seemingly weak connection with her dog, which was left outside to sleep every night, inspired Cassandra to come up with an idea. In an effort to strengthen their bond and prove her devotion to Reggie, Cassandra decided to take their relationship to the next level. She began sleeping with Reggie curled around her body, a living, breathing blanket that stretched from her head to her toes. Night after night, the two would curl up together in Cassandra's bed, Reggie's steady, rhythmic breathing lulling her into a deep, peaceful sleep, unlike anything she had ever experienced before. As the weeks went on, however, Cassandra noticed a troubling change in Reggie's behavior. He no longer showed interest in the meals she offered him, whether it was fresh chicken or even his favorite rabbit. One morning, his behavior was extremely concerning to her. What was going on? Throughout the day, Reggie remained on her bed, refusing to eat and displaying more agitation than usual, especially when Cassandra attempted to move him back to the vivarium. She pondered if he was merely in a bad mood or unwell. Noticing something peculiar about his appearance, she questioned whether it was her imagination, or if he had somehow changed in size overnight. Concerned for his well-being and fearing that something might be seriously wrong, Cassandra decided to take him to the local veterinarian doctor. Hansen, a middle-aged man known for his calm demeanor and expertise in treating exotic animals. There was undoubtedly something amiss with her beloved companion. Upon arrival at the vet clinic, Dr. Hansen was visibly taken aback by Reggie's sheer size and the obvious affection between the snake and Cassandra. He couldn't help but marvel at the unusual bond they shared. After listening to Cassandra explain the situation, Dr. Hansen agreed to examine Reggie. He suggested that the most appropriate course of action would be to conduct an ultrasound of the snake's abdomen, as it might have ingested something unusual. He conducted a series of tests, including blood work and an X-ray. As the veterinarian performed the ultrasound, his forehead furrowed into a frown, and he looked at his assistant. This caused Cassandra's heart to race with anxiety. What could he possibly be observing? The veterinarian inquired about the snake's feeding and sleeping patterns. Cassandra shared their nightly routine, unaware of the concern growing in Dr. Hansen's eyes. He presented an ultrasound, and Cassandra was puzzled. It showed an empty stomach. The vet asked if Reggie often stretched along her body in bed. She nodded. Dr. Hansen took a deep breath. Reggie's stomach is empty, which is unusual. I believe he's been preparing for a large meal. Cassandra frowned. But I've offered him food, and he's refused it all. Dr. Hansen hesitated before meeting her gaze. Ms. Turner, I believe Reggie has been sizing you up as his prey. Cassandra's heart pounded. That's impossible. He's my companion, my friend. The vet sighed. I understand how you feel, but Reggie is still a wild animal. His instincts are strong. I urge you to reconsider your sleeping arrangements. A chill ran through Cassandra. Had Reggie been preparing to consume her? The thought unsettled her. What she had seen as bonding was actually a predator's assessment. The idea that she once thought he watched over her now felt disturbing. In reality, he had been waiting for the perfect moment. Leaving the clinic, Cassandra wrestled with fear and disbelief. Could she truly be in danger? Despite her protests, Dr. Hansen's explanation made sense. Pythons were opportunistic hunters, and Reggie's behavior fit that of a snake preparing for a meal. The vet urged her to find a more suitable home for him. Back home, Cassandra was torn. She needed proof. That night, she placed a life-sized mannequin in her bed, covering it with her scent. Hiding in the corner, she watched Reggie slither toward it, cautiously coiling around the lifeless figure. Her breath caught as his grip tightened, then came the sound of cracking plastic. A cold realization hit her. Dr. Hansen had been right. Reggie had been preparing for her all along. She had no choice. As much as she loved him, she couldn't ignore the danger. With a heavy heart, she contacted an exotic pet rescue center to find him a new home. She realized that, despite their bond, Reggie was still governed by instinct. Letting her guard down could cost her life. The next few days were spent preparing for his departure. When the rescuers arrived, she fought back tears as she stroked Reggie's scales one last time. "Goodbye, my friend," she whispered. As they loaded him into the truck, she wondered if Reggie understood the love they had shared, or the threat he had posed. It was a painful yet necessary decision. News of Cassandra's experience spread quickly through Bar Harbor. While some gossiped, others expressed concern and support. Neighbors who once found her bond with Reggie strange now offered kindness and sympathy. Their understanding comforted her, reinforcing the sense of community she hadn't realized she needed. Time passed, and the pain of losing Reggie began to fade. To fill the void, Cassandra volunteered at the Exotic Pet Rescue Center, caring for other animals in need. Through her work, she learned that love wasn't confined to one creature. It could be found in the most unexpected places. One day, while volunteering, Cassandra felt drawn to a small enclosure at the back of the center. There she discovered a chameleon named Cammy. Although she knew it would never replace the unique bond she had shared with Reggie, she felt an instant connection with the tiny creature. She decided to adopt Cammy, providing her with a loving home and a fresh start. Cassandra's neighbors were more accepting of her new companion, and they marveled at the way the chameleon changed colors to match Cassandra's vibrant outfits. Life in Bar Harbor returned to normal, and the whispers about the woman who had slept with a python began to fade into the background. Cassandra's journey had taught her about the limits of love and the importance of recognizing the dangers that sometimes accompany it. As she embarked on this new chapter with Cammy, she held on to the memories of Reggie, knowing they would always be a part of her story. With Cammy's presence and their daily routine, Cassandra's laughter filled the house again. It seemed as though, after a long period of turbulence, a tranquil chapter had finally begun. But a few months later, something strange happened. Cammy wasn't blending into her surroundings as usual. Stuck in shades of blue and green, her appetite declined, and she became lethargic. Alarmed, Cassandra scheduled an appointment with Dr. Hansen, hoping it wasn't serious. Dr. Hansen carried out tests, including an X-ray, and his face turned grave. Cassandra felt her heart sink. When he showed her the image, she saw several small circular objects in Cammy's stomach. Dr. Hansen explained that Cammy had ingested small decorative items from her terrarium. Guilt overwhelmed Cassandra. She had been so focused on enjoying her new companion that she hadn't considered the potential risks. Dr. Hansen reassured her that they could perform a procedure to remove the foreign bodies, though it wasn't without risk. The thought of losing another pet was unbearable, but Cassandra knew she had to do what was best for Cammy. She agreed to the procedure. She returned home to an eerily quiet house, waiting anxiously for news. Each ring of the phone sent a jolt of anticipation through her. Finally, as evening fell, she received the call. Bracing herself, she asked, "So?" Dr. Hansen hesitated before delivering the news. Cammy had pulled through. The foreign objects were successfully removed. Relief flooded Cassandra, and she expressed her deep gratitude, arranging to pick up Cammy the next morning. At the clinic, Dr. Hansen handed her a weak but very much alive Cammy. The chameleon's colors had returned, and she seemed curious again. He provided instructions for Cammy's care, including a new diet and medication regimen. Determined not to repeat her mistakes, Cassandra listened carefully, vowing to ensure Cammy's long, healthy life. Back home, she immediately made changes, removing the small decorations from Cammy's terrarium, replacing them with safer, non-toxic ones, and adjusting her diet. As days passed, Cammy regained her strength, appetite, and enthusiasm. A deep bond grew between them. Through this experience, Cassandra became a more responsible pet owner. Despite the ordeal, she wouldn't trade her time with Cammy for anything. Her story serves as a reminder of the importance of creating a safe environment for pets. They depend on us, and it's our responsibility to ensure their well-being. In the end, the bond between Cassandra and Cammy grew stronger than ever. Their story is a testament to the love and resilience that can form between humans and animals. Despite their rocky start, they went on to share many happy years together. Through heartache and loss, Cassandra discovered her own strength and resilience. She learned that love should never blind her to the truth. In the end, she found solace in her new life, cherishing her connections and looking forward to the adventures ahead. The tale of the woman who slept with a snake every night became a story of personal growth, healing, and the enduring power of love.